All right, welcome back. So the next thing that I want to show you is working with tools, okay? Working with some other tools that are available to you on the toolbar section. All right, so before we do that, what I want to do is to, first of all, I told you that you have to select it to affect it. So before any of these other last tools work for you, you have to actually draw an object first and then you modify it. So I was saying something about modification tools. This is your first modification tool when it has to do with the second function of the shape tool. Now these other ones that are remaining, this is the drop shadow transparency tool, the color picker tool, the paint merge tool, and other kinds of tools that are available here are your typical modification tools. The other ones that are available to you here are the drawing tools, okay? So you use these 1, 2, 3, 4 tools to create, but you use these other 1, 2, 3, 4 tools and other tools that are following to actually modify things. I hope you're clear with what I'm saying. So with that said and done, first of all, I have to draw first because that's how to create. And if you don't create, you can modify. So what I'm going to do is to first of all create. And in creating, one of the things that I didn't show you was how to create colors. Okay, playing with colors. So what I'm going to do is, if I come here to the color palette, which is very easy, I come here to the color palette or the color swatches, I can actually pick a color that I want. So I can pick a color from red, the basic colors, and all the kinds of colors that I'm looking for. If you see right here where you have this arrow pointing this direction, what you do is that you can click on this arrow and it will expand the color palette where you can pick on more color options for you to use. So that's just the basic thing that you can do for yourself. Okay, that's just what it is that I'm showing you. So you understand that that's exactly how to affect these things regards the design process. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick a color. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color, and if you zoom in right here, you can see the outline. This is the outline already that is existing. So I'm just going to show you how to easily affect that outline right now. If I left click, it is going to give me a color. That's just click. It's going to give me a color. If I click the other way around, I can now affect the outline. So I'm going to use for a brighter color so you can see it. I now affect the outline. So if I just normally click, normal way I click and drag, I'm going to affect the color. If I click the other way, I'm actually affecting the outline. And guess what? There's also how you can remove the outline. If you come here, you can actually increase the outline to any amount that you're looking for, and as well as you can also see that you don't want any outline. For the most part, you're going to be working with no outline so that you can see how your design works proper. So with that said, what we want to do right now is to focus on how we can modify the shape by introducing the first tool effect here, which is called drop shadow. If I click on this drop shadow, you see that it gives me options on the option toolbar. It gives me options on the option toolbar that will guide me in the way that I want to affect it. Also, you could see here in the hint section where it actually tells you the simple effect that you can create with the drop shadow. With drop shadow, I mean actually creating literal shadow that affects your design to make it look like your design actually has this sense of position. Position is also a principle in design because it allows you to have this realistic appearance in your design. So sometimes, playing with light source and playing with light frequency actually introduces depth and actually makes your design to look more real to the user. So what you're going to do right now is, if you click on these options that they have given you, when you click on the tool, if you click on this option, you can see flat, you can see bottom top, you can see, you go ahead and you see all these options, all these quick presets that has been created for you. You can use it. For the most being, I just select one and I use it. I mean, except I want to create something really outside of the box. That's when I do something custom. But for the most sense, all you gotta do is just create it and click on one of these handle, and then you can either drag it in, okay, to make it look more realistic, or you drag it out depending on what it is that you're looking for. Okay, and if you can also scale this slider right here, okay, to create the intensity of the shadow and also reduce this intensity of the shadow. So if you're bringing it towards the black direction, it means you want it to be darker. If you're taking it towards the white directions, it means you want it to be lighter. So that's the basic way that you can affect shadow in your design. And once you're done and you don't want any shadow anymore, you can come here and click on clear drop shadow, and that will be cleared. So depending on any of the presets that you're looking for, depending on your design and depending on the preset that will work for you, you should come here and actually start from working with the preset. From there, you can always modify depending on what it is that you're looking for. Other aspects of it is that you can actually affect the color of the shadow by just clicking on the color bar here in the drop shadow section, and you'll be able to introduce certain things, settle subtle changes, and settle the effect. But you should be very, very careful with regard to what you want to do. Okay, I like to stick with neutral colors and muted colors, except on very, very rare occasions where I now look for custom colors depending on what it is I want to convey. But I'm telling you, sticking to simple things usually make your designs go amazing and go even way, way better than what you anticipated. So that said, with the drop shadow, I'm just going to go ahead and clear it. But for you, if you're okay, you then pick tool and then you continue with your design. So that's exactly, and that's the basic thing, and that's how drop shadow works. The second tool that I want to show you is the transparency tool. Now what happens in the transparency tool is that it allows you to create some kind of see-through effect through your object. It makes it transparent in the nature. If you see the term transparent, means you can see through. So this transparency, once you select an object and you click on transparency, which means you have to select it to affect it. If you select an object and you click on transparency, what it does is it introduces this transparency slider for you. You can actually slide it. You can actually slide it either to the right to make it brighter, or you can actually leave it at normal to keep it at the original state. Now let me show you something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly draw an object over this object that I did. And before I do that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to return this, click on the transparency, and set the transparency back to 0. So one way I could do is to actually set the transparency slider from here, or I could click on this button right here, which I said that you should always make sure you notice your option toolbar. So I could click on this option right here and it automatically returns to what? No transparency. So this one was what? Uniform transparency. So you either click here and you see it's going to give you uniform transparency, or which is normally on an average it's going to be 50. It's just that I clicked on if I click it back again, you see it's going to be 50. It's going to give me the default transparency that I was working with, but it's going to affect all the entire design is going to have a uniform transparency. We're going to look at the other one when it has to do with fountain transparency. Fountain transparency allows you to, like, imagine maybe like your water fountain. One side goes thin to big. All right. So what fountain transparency allows you to do is that it offers you one side being transparent and the other side not being transparent. So that's what fountain transparency actually does for you, so that you can understand how it works. Okay, so one thing I could do is I could click on this fountain transparency and you could see exactly what it is that I'm actually saying. But for the purpose of this class, I'm not going to really talk about it much, so we're just going to return back to the normal thing. So I'm going to clear this one, and then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my object right here and then expand it to cover this other object that I've drawn. Now the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a color over it, and then I'm going to click on transparency and then click on uniform transparency. What I wanted you to experience is the see-through effect. So that is exactly what uniform transparency, or what transparency, does for you. The third thing that I want to show you, or the next tool that I want to introduce to you, is called the pick tool. Now what does the pick tool do? In the case where you don't have a color in your color palette and someone is actually telling you to work with a particular tool in the design, or work with a particular color in the design, all right, what this color eyedropper tool does, it allows you to sample color and then you apply the color elsewhere along your design. So this is an easy way. Instead of you going back to look for the color, mix the color or something like that, you can actually pick out color from an existing design, or color that have already existed, or color that you've been working with, or color themes that already existed that are not actually available in this CorelDRAW environment for you. Alright, so that's the color picker tool, and that's exactly what it does. Instead of mixing the color from scratch, trying to find it out, you can just go ahead and just pick the color from, or just sample the color from a particular object and then apply it to another area or another object in your design. So that's exactly what it does. The next thing I want to show you, which is the interactive fill tool. The interactive fill tool is a very, very intelligent and from name interaction, it allows you to play with one or two colors in your design. So by the time you click on the interactive fill tool, you can actually come here and click on fountain fill. What fountain fill does is it allows you to create and work with two or more colors depending on what you're looking for. So what I'm going to do, the easiest way is to stick with two first, foundationally. Then as we go on, you'll be able to see how you can work with multiple interactions to help you do what you're looking for. So what I'm going to do is, if I click on this one area here, or one direction, or one of the colors here, I can click on this drop down and then pick a color, and it's going to automatically create the interaction for me. Then I could go ahead and maybe slide it down in terms of the intensity, or leave it back at the default. So that's exactly what it is. I could go ahead and affect it to this side, and maybe check work with blue, kind of, and you can see some of the interactions that I'm getting. So that's what interactive fill tool does. From the name interaction, it allows you to create little interaction among colors to create unique compositions, or to create unique colors for your design, or maybe something like this, those kind of gradient effect for your design. I just like to stick to the basics so we don't overbore you, so you could get to do what it is that you want. And then for this last tool, which is here, it's called the Smart Fill tool. Okay, which is called the Smart Fill tool. Now the Smart Fill tool actually works like the color eyedropper tool, in which you can actually sample a color from a particular object and then affect it to another object on the design. With that said, we've come to the end of the basic and foundational overview or exploration of the tools that we have in CorelDRAW. Like I said, it's the basics. So we've come to those basic exploration of the tools that we have in CorelDRAW that can help you get started. So our next class, we're focusing on design proper, so that you'll be able to produce designs that actually work and start being on your way to expertise in no time. So stick around, as I'm going to be going deeper into understanding and playing and working with these tools, so they can become good and grounded in your newfound skill. So we're going to be getting down into the practice, because we can't just talk it on the lips. We have to push ourselves into doing it. So see you in the next video.